like to introduce Gary Rogers, who was our 2009 MAR president, and he's a realtor with Remax First Realty. Gary.
Thank you. Very honored to be called back. I'm not called to the same place twice very often in my life. A couple of things. Vivian, Gail, and Tommy at Rockland Trust. Realtors don't forget, supporting us in the tough times says a lot. We've had not so great times. It may be better now. I don't know if it's better, but it's definitely different. So again, for the sponsors, thank you very much. You won't be forgotten for helping us out when we need it the most. The second thing I just kind of mentioned, or I thought about, was, NAR and Massachusetts as well have been very clear about creating a YPN, Young Professionals Network. And, it just dawned on me, Peter McDowell mentioned to an associate about being a fuddy-duddy, and I think we should have a whole fuddy-duddy club. I mean, if the young people should have YPN, we should have the old fuddy-duddy club, and we should get some funding. So I need to catch Mo Vesey before he gets his plane. Lastly, Peter Raffini, could you stand up for a minute? We have our own Mr. Stretch right here. Poor Peter, we pick on him all the time because he's so small. When Peter and I were talking to Mo, and Mo came up and said hi to Peter, and I said, "Hi Mo, I'm Peter's bodyguard." Knew right away that that wasn't quite true. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the nuts and bolts about what we do every day. And no one knows more about a competitive environment than a Cape Cod realtor. And, the stats don't lie. It's a very competitive environment down here. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from markets that tend to be a little bit more susceptible to some of the downturns in the economy. Second homes are obviously a huge part of your work as well. And that tends to be one of those shrinkage parts of things in people's budgets later on, whether they're coming down to rent or buy or sell or whatever. And so, but the message that I have is that as much as this area and the realtors in this area understand competition better than some of the other parts of our state, it's clearly a time that it's a wake-up call a little bit. It should be a very energizing time in my mind. Now's the time to sharpen the tools. We're kind of out of the darkness a little bit here, I think. And, I would encourage you or your agents to get out there and start taking some courses and seminars. Anything that will get you energized and rethinking a little bit. Get your people, or yourselves, to get off Cape a little bit. Network with the people that are most logically going to come down and give you business, whatever that means, whether it's a summer rental or buying and selling and so forth. I'll give you an example, and Jamie Regan can vouch for this. I live in Waltham. It's 80 minutes away to Yarmouthport. And we've always had a family home down here. We've sold one about 5 years ago, and we built one in Fallon. You folks you need to get your people out and get off Cape, and whether it's up to past functions or Greater Boston function or whatever, I encourage you to get your people out there and network and bump into some agents out there and say, hey, by the way, oh, you're from the Cape. Oh, who do you know from the Cape? That should be the first thing out of your mouth. Who do you know that has a place down the Cape? Who do you know that wants a place down the Cape now that things are a little bit better? Because I can tell you, it's going to come your way. In Waltham, the market is very healthy, and not just by a percentage of change. It feels good. And people are out there buying and selling. And they're making those life adjustments that they've wanted to do for the last 3 or 4 years, but they've been scared to. There are a lot of people that are going to be downsizing and looking for places down here. Whether they retire, or the weekend place, or whatever, there's going to be money coming down there. You need to get you or your people in front of it. And the competition is not as much, probably, as it should be right now for that type of business, because everybody's kind of laying back. Decisions and planning and positioning need to be done at times like this, where there's that little unknown lull that, gee, is it coming through or whatever? Well, if it is better, it's not going to come to you. We need to go to it. It's not going to just fall in our laps. And so I can tell you that the agents that I work with, at least 3/4 of them really think that something magical is going to happen just because the paper says things are better. They think it's going to automatically flush into their inventory, and voila, everything, you know, the angels sing and everything's fine again, and it's not going to be that way. It may be better, but it's clearly different. We need to think differently, and we need to get out there. Now is the time to start planning not for the next deal or the next 3 deals, but 5 years ahead. The foundations and the work habits and the prospecting things that we do now are they're going to echo for 5 years. And they're going to set their course for 5 years and beyond. And it's going to be hard to pick it up a year or two from now when things are different. It's going to be hard to lay those foundations of prospecting and so forth. Not a lot of people are out there prospecting. I got to tell you, I got to share this with you. Every December, I have to get myself in the mindset that I'm a brand new agent starting January 1. What am I going to do to compete against the big boys or the people that, oh my God, I'll never beat them? Well, I don't want to beat them either. I would love to have their production, but I don't want to beat them. And so what I typically do is I look back and I try to be as critical as I can, and I try to think of the things that have worked for me professionally and personally, and bring them forward into my business plan for the next year. You know, when my kids were younger, I was home every day for the most, maybe 3 or 4 days out of the week. I tried to do every day. By 3 p.m. when the kids get off the bus, as your lifestyle changes and the kids are different and everything, there's some adjustments. But I always try to bring forward what worked, where I could spend time with those that energize me. But professionally, bring forward those things that worked last year in a tough market. Because if you bring those things forward and only focus on them, don't bring the garbage forward. It felt like busy work, but it wasn't productive. Get rid of that stuff. Start over like you're a brand new agent and you only have about 3 or 4 tools to work with. Not the 10 or 15 or 20 that we start going in 5 different directions. As important as social media is, we see a lot of people that are focusing too much on that. You need a balance with everything. We've always preached that being a realtor is about balance in life and being productive, because the bottom line needs to be there for everything else to really go anywhere. And be involved. And Dave just talked about how we're involved. And then the last step of the stool, obviously, is balanced in your personal life. And so what I'm saying is now is the time for us to get our people and those around us, because success begets success. You know, if you can mentor some of the other agents, it doesn't matter if they're more experienced or less experienced. You can still mentor without calling it mentoring. Bring that idea forward, and it's very synergistic, and get some planning stuff together. You know, recently, you folks were very kind to sponsor the CRS chapter had a top producer panel, which seemed to be pretty well received, and thank you, Henry and Lynette, for having us. The people that attended that, I think, kind of got it. They're attending stuff that gets people energized. So again, I would encourage you people and yourselves. It's, you know, every one of us needs that kind of thing. And then lastly, there's never lastly with me, by the way. I say lastly like 3 or 4 times. Don't think of the next year of, okay, well, I'm going to be refreshed and everything, and then just end up putting it on cruise control 3 weeks later. Cruise control does not work anymore. You know, if you want to think of it as a car, or everybody's in the fast lane, you're in the breakdown lane if you're on cruise control. You're going to be left behind. And this is the last thing. All of the competition is in a funk right now, because they're kind of in a shell shock. At least I see it in my market. I see brokers stepping it up. They're doing production they haven't done before, because some of the so-called experienced and the veterans are waiting for something. And they're going to be waiting for a while, because nothing's going to come to them. Get out there, make the phone calls, get the notes out to people. Be the first contact that they've had in years from a realtor. It's almost like realtors were embarrassed to call our past clients, because it's like our fault. You know, oh my God, the market, you know, I know you bought in the height. You know what? Call them. Get out there, because chances are, and new prospects as well. I'm telling you, I've talked to people that said, you know, I haven't talked to a realtor in like 2.5 years. I haven't even got a postcard. What does that tell you? People are pulling back so much that you know, it's like a realtorectomy. They don't even know they haven't talked to anybody in 2 years. You know, my medical background kicks in. So if they haven't even got a sold card, well, some people haven't been able to send it. So send something to them. Get out there, do what we do best, which is interacting with the public and making opportunities with our sphere of influences. And please, get out there and network Get off Cape and talk to the people that are going to refer you business. We know that's the best thing you can do. You'll feel better about it, your people will do better, you'll do better, and we're going to make 2010 a great, great year. We just need to do those things a little bit differently and forget the past. It's behind us. It's gone. We need to look to the future. Thanks for having me.
Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our incoming president, David Callahan.
Thank you, Linda. She's always smiling because it means her term ends. But it's a privilege to stand here and be a greater part of the leadership team of the Cape Islands Board of Realtors. And I'm really here just to invite you to my installation dinner, which will be on Nantucket on June 30th. And there'll be a boat leaving here at 3:15 on the High Line. And we'll get you home that night around 10 o'clock. Again, thank you.
Okay, may I please have a motion to adjourn the fiscal year 2010 Cape Cod Islands Association of Realtors, Inc. annual meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.